2024 has come and gone, and it's time to take a look at my top 5 folders for 2024. These are my favorites, judged by the amount of pocket time that they have gotten. So it's not just a favorite based on looks, based on its collectible value. These are actually based on use. What ones did I use the most this year? Let's start with the Cold Steel Large Espada. Just a fun knife. I just love carrying this knife. Now, this is not to be confused with the extra large. I think I'm going to have to zoom the camera out for this. Huge difference in size. Even that considered, the extra large still is very pocketable and is not bad at all to carry. But the large Espada, the 5.5-inch blade, it's over a foot long opened, actually is extremely comfortable in the pocket. It's a pleasure to carry, and it is nice to have a large knife. It's also very comfortable and very secure in hand. You get multiple grips with it. You can choke up. You get a standard grip where you're really locked in, and you can choke back, or you can choke back even further, which gives you a little bit of chopping action if the need presents itself. Just an awesome knife. Beautifully designed. Very pleasing to the eye. Look at that clip point shape. Isn't that beautiful? So this comes in at number 5. Number 4 is the Demco AD20.5 with a slicer grind. This one is an Ultim. This has a 20 CV blade. Demco. I really love the combination of the Ultim and the black. I like the look a lot. And the shark lock is just a lot of fun to use. You can reverse flick it. You can thumb flick it. It's just a fun knife. Good blade steel. Good ergonomics. It's bordering on being too small. I mean, my hand hits that point there, but it's still pretty comfortable. If this didn't have embedded liners, I would take and grind this point off and kind of round this off here like that. But those liners are embedded inside of the Ultim, so that's not really possible. I put a titanium clip on here, a deep carry clip, which is much nicer. It's a big improvement over the stock clip. The stock clip wasn't very comfortable in the hand, and you can also choke up onto it. It's not a bad spot to put your finger there and choke up, and you can get your hand right up against the blade. And then that leaves enough room in the rear. So just an excellent, lightweight, very slim knife that disappears in your pocket. Next is the Vax Steed. I call it, I'm not sure if it's Alinko or Ankylo. I'm not sure the exact pronunciation of it. This is an Elmax steel. I love Elmax steel. It takes a really nice toothy edge. It cuts very aggressively, and it holds an edge for a pretty long time. Probably somewhere as close to around what 20 CV does. Very similar, but this is more aggressive. I like the steel better than 20 CV. Now this knife, to zoom out just a little bit, has many ways of opening and closing. This is just a very fidgetable knife. You can thumb flick it. You can spidey flick it. Flipper tab. You can use the front flipper. Or you can just use the button. So great knife, very fidgetable, great steel, little bit weighty, but not overly so. Comes with a decent pocket clip. It's deep carry, but not completely concealed, but that's about the right amount. It makes it easy to draw the knife. This has just been a great knife, a really fun knife to carry. Besides being so fidgetable, it's also, like I said, excellent steel, and its cutting performance is great. With this tip design, you get a fairly low angle cut for utility value, which is excellent. I need that in my day-to-day knife use. Next, number 2 is the Benchmade 940. This one had orange G10 scales on it originally. I put these Ultim scales on it. I got these off of eBay for like 30 bucks. So these were pretty reasonable. This one is in S90V. See if we can get that to show up. Yep, you see right here, S90V, Osborne design. The good old 940. Very similar. You have good utility value with this blade. With this drop here, this reverse Tanto, you have a nice thick tip. It's very sturdy, yet the knife is slicey enough, especially if you lay back the bevel just a little bit, just a few degrees. This will get everything you need done on a daily basis. It's very slim, very lightweight. This knife only weighs 2.3 ounces. And what's nice about the slimness of it, both ways, both in thickness and in height, is when this is riding in your pocket, you can get your hand past here easily to get other stuff that might be in the bottom of your pocket. This is just a great knife, a great all-around knife. And then my favorite one of the year is this Jack Wolf, and I'm going to call it the Benny Tanto. It's a front flipper design, S90V blade steel. Now S90V, it's also on here. This is probably, LMAX would be a close second, but I'm going to say this is my favorite blade steel, or my favorite stainless steel for a folder. I like other steels, like I really like K390 a lot, but S90V has excellent edge retention. S90V is tough enough for a folder. It's not tough enough for a fixed blade, and it would be iffy on a heavy duty, hard use folder. It should be on just a regular pocket knife. It holds an edge for an insane amount of time. It has a high amount of vanadium. It forms those vanadium carbides, and it just takes such a toothy edge, and it cuts so aggressively. As the edge breaks down, it exposes more points of those carbides and just keeps going on and on and on for such a long time. It has a deep carry pocket clip. Now this pocket clip is a little thin, so if you have thick pants pockets, this knife can be a little bit troublesome. So it doesn't fit on everything. Now normally I don't like frame locks, but I guess you would call this more of a bolster lock because it is covered up by the scales, and I have no problem disengaging this one. A lot of frame locks, you also have a hard time opening because if fingers on this side hit that lock bar, which is normally exposed all the way back, the knife is not going to open. So this one is just a pleasure to open and to close. It even opens left-handed. And to close it left-handed, you don't have to dig your fingers in there. You have this little cutout right there. If you just put your thumb right on top and press a little bit to the side, it closes very easily. So this is one of the very few frame locks that is easy to manipulate left-handed. Now, honorable mention, of course, is going to be my cold steel Recon 1. This is a 4-inch Tanto blade. Technically, this is disqualified because I bought this knife probably back in 2022. But this past year, I bought a second one of these. It's still new in the box. It's in my safe. That's how good this knife is. I always want to have a backup. This is still my most carried knife, and I'm going to include it here because of that new one I bought in 2024 as a backup. I only do that with a couple of knives. It's a very rare thing that I'll buy a backup blade to have in stock in case something ever happened to this blade, or someone just fell in love with it so bad that they had to have one and I ended up giving it away. This is S35VN. As you can see, it's dirty from use. They do a good job on the heat treat. You have the sliciness of a hollow grind, but then you have a thicker, more robust tip, where that's a flat grind here instead of being the hollow grind. So you have the best of both worlds of slicing and durability. And like I said, they do a good job on the steel, and I've never had any issues with the edge chipping, even running this at a 14 degree per side bevel. You can see how this edge originally was only sharpened to about here. I brought it all the way back to the choil. So you can see a little bit of a smile there, but I really don't care. This is a working knife. This is a knife that I use and abuse for everyday tasks and for working in trades. So these are my most used folders of 2024, starting with number 1, working their way to number 5, and then the Cold Steel Recon 1 is an honorable mention as the one that has been carried and used the most this year. That's going to be it for this one. We'll be back soon with the 5 favorite traditional knives of 2024.